Hey everybody, you're watching the AfterBuzz TV After Show for The Girlfriend Experience, Season 1, Episodes 9 and 10, called Blindsided and Available. We're going to be breaking down the episodes and sharing our thoughts and predictions. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, it does.
It so does this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm your host, Samantha Benitez. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Of course, it's Samantha_Benitez. And I'm joined by my amazing co-host who worked so hard to be here tonight. Samantha Davidson is in the building, people.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us and tuning in. You can find me at SamD43 on Twitter and Instagram.
So we are going to be breaking down episodes 9 and 10, which I feel like, whoa, is all I can say about episode 9. It kind of blew my mind, and I was waiting for this to happen, but it finally did. What did you think about it?
It was confusing as to how she really feels. Like, Is she schizophrenic? We know she's, like, sociopathic, but still, it's, you know, her reactions and everything, you didn't know what was real, what was fake.
Right.
But some of it, I think, was real.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, she's either putting on this elaborate masterpiece-like show, or she really is a victim of, you know, somebody hacking her email. Do you feel that she put out these pictures or this video?
No, I think that, what's his name?
David.
Wow. No, not David. No, the guy before, the one that was stalking her. Jack. I think Jack sent it out because she spoke to his friend. And that was his, like, retaliation. I don't think she sent it out. So I think that was actually a surprise to her. But then she just got on her crazy game and, like, played it out.
Oh, my gosh. I was feeling that, too. I'm like, okay, there could be a few suspects in my mind. Like, it could have been Aaron, could have been David, could have been her, just kind of doing this whole plan ahead of time to make it look like it's not her. You know what I mean? If you do it all to yourself, then it kind of makes you look less of a victim. But by her reaction at the end, the fact that she was having this, like, crazy panic attack, and it looked super real. Like, you feel for her, actually, despite this being, like, the result of her actions.
But then there's the moment at the end, too, where she kind of is, like, after the other intern leaves, she, like, she's like, meh. Like, no, I'm a different person.
Yeah. It's like she can flip the switch at any time. So before we go deeper into 9 and 10, let's do a quick recap of episode 7 and 8 to get any of you guys back up to speed.
Yeah, so speaking of Jack, he seems to be stalking Christine, who in turn deepens her investigation into the shady business being conducted at Kirkland and Allen, while all being pursued by Simon Bircher, a private investigator hired to intimidate her into dropping her claim to share of Michael's will. And, you know, that was pretty complicated, but it seems like that has been dropped a little bit. And meanwhile, Christine goes on the attack at Kirkland, intent on achieving revenge.
That is so true. And you know what? Maybe do we think Simon could have anything to do with it, or is he totally out of the question?
I think that you never really get rid of an enemy. Mm-hmm. And people are still, but I really do think that it was Jack.
Okay.
Because it was him in the video. Mm-hmm. It was either him or her.
Right.
That's what I think. And I don't really think it was her.
In the video? I wasn't sure if that video was of her and David.
Okay.
It wasn't?
Okay, see, that's what I was confused
about. That's the conundrum.
About.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one kind of in question here.
Because he's like, did you send this to my wife?
Exactly. And that was the line that threw me off. I was like, okay, only he would worry about this if this is the position they were doing in the talk they were having. Because why would he care if, you know,
but
his
we
intern
do
was having
remember
that?
Jack saying those disrespectful things to her after he kind of realized that he didn't have control over her.
Right.
And she was going to continue to see other men. So I think it was him because he was angry. Did they ever mention his job? He was rich, but right. I don't know if he was some kind of weird tech genius or something. But
I could see that. He was just on the phone. You know, he seems kind of like a businessman or an entrepreneur, but yeah, it wasn't really mentioned. So now that you say that, I am feeling like he may have something to do with it. And he wasn't really heavily reintroduced in episodes 9 and 10. I feel like we were kind of skipped over. So he's probably going to be coming back later down the line, you know, when there's even more repercussions of this video, because you can kind of see everybody's, you know, awkward and totally pushed away by the situation.
Because it was they changed the guy's voice, not her voice, but you didn't see his eyes maybe. But I'm pretty sure it was Jack. I don't think it was David, and that's why I thought it was dumb of David. I was like, David, why would you think she would send this to your wife? Be
Right.
like, why am I getting a video of this random girl I don't know and this random guy I don't know?
Totally. So if you guys haven't watched the episode, we'll just give you obviously a few spoilers here. So watch it before we discuss any further and you're listening in. Basically, they open up episode 9 where the sex tape was sent to the entire office from her email. So like Sam said, the man's voice is kind of altered in this deep, tone, so that way you can't really tell who it is. And her voice is exactly the same. And he's kind of degrading her, asking her, do you like doing what you do for money? And of course she answers yes, because they're heated in the moment. And the fact that it was sent to everybody, it was so interesting the way they portrayed that in the opening of the episode and how there were just like whispers everywhere. And as soon as I slightly heard it in the background on another man's computer and she hadn't quite caught on yet, I was like, uh-oh. Did you also notice that?
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, and also it started off with him calling her continuously, and that is also scary.
Yeah.
And then that's what makes me think that it was him that sent it.
That's a very good point. The over and over calls, like only if you got a little something to do with it. So the interesting thing is she even goes in the bathroom and rewatches the tape and she's sitting there and she's kind of crying. And I wasn't sure if she was mourning the fact of like what she had become or mourning the fact that everybody had seen her now in this light. And now her, hidden life is in front of the veil per se.
Yeah, and, like we find out later, there are good excuses. Because I was thinking, okay, it's okay. He's your boyfriend. You were role-playing, and he's an asshole,
Right.
and you dumped him, and he's pissed, and he taped you. Like, there are some explanations for this, and she's a smart girl. She obviously figures it out. But, like we said, you see this switch flip on and off in
Right.
her, and it's fascinating to watch her as an actress. I'm a huge fan after this show. I'm obsessed with her. I think she's so good, and I just love what she does because we still don't really understand what's happening with her, but we know it's like there's crazy stuff going on in her brain.
You're so right, and I totally agree. Like, I was even checking on IMDb, and episode 9, with her crazy portrayal of how this character, Christine, would feel in that scenario, got the episode a rating of 8.7, which was, like, the highest number of the entire season.
And that's pretty good just in general.
Exactly. I'm thinking, okay, that's a high B. Like, you should feel super proud because it's really hard to get in the 9s, I feel like, on IMDb. And the fact that this episode was rated the highest, it made a lot of sense to me because my eyes were glued to the screen the entire time. I just wanted to see how it was going to go down because the entire show thus far has been her in all these, various sexual escapades. And then now she takes that line of work, to her other job, which is very business professional. And you can just see that it made everybody else so uncomfortable. But she was so nonchalant. Like, even when the boss came up to her and was like, do you want to go home? She's like, why?
Yeah, and that's what is driving everyone crazy, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, she must actually be insane.
Yeah.
And she was so fantastic at doing it. I cannot praise her enough. But it was a bit scary because it does seem a bit premeditated. So I am nervous now that you said it to begin with. Because at first I was like, no, she didn't do that.
Right.
But maybe she did.
I know. It's like I don't want to put it past her quite yet, but then again, I could see it being Jack because why would they have all the character development that they've had so far and all these little red herrings they've been putting in?
Yeah.
So
And also, was she crying perhaps over the fact that Jack would do this to her?
right, like who did this to me? Because exactly, we didn't hear any dialogue come out of her mouth about who did this or why. You just see her kind of reacting to the situation and absorbing the materials all over again and kind of feeling all the emotions.
It's her eyes.
Yeah.
Her eyes tell everything. And it's
Yes.
just kind of crazy because she's just looking around and then she processes things in her brain and we are able to see that as an audience, which I love.
Oh, it's so true. And even so, she goes on to record all the conversations she's having, with her boss, with any gentleman, with the women. Like, she's just really trying to cover her bases. So did you think that had to do with anything or how she was going to conduct herself later?
I think that maybe she did all of that as like a back plan in case things did go awry because she is a call girl.
Yep.
And people are paying her for sex, so there is a chance. And I do think that the relationship with her and David to begin with, she was manipulating that. Mm-hmm. And that's why and when she started recording things.
Yep. Oh, she's very smart, and I feel like she's 2 steps ahead of everybody, even when she seems behind.
I legitimately think David is scared of her.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely has a reason to be. She has nothing to lose, and that makes her extremely dangerous.
Yeah, and it's not even like she, I hate you, screw you, or whatever. She's just so calm and creepy about it that it is making him crazy, which it should.
You are so right. Her calm demeanor would scare the heck out of me if I was in his position. So even so, David gets angry and he goes to find Kaylee to find out if she gave access to his files to Christine. And he finds out unfortunate news because Kaylee seems scared out of her mind. She wants to keep her job and she's going to keep it real. And she probably thought she wasn't doing anything wrong giving the intern access to these files because it seems like it could be, a rational question.
Yeah. I felt bad for her because, Christine did take advantage of her. Mm-hmm. But... and she, she felt bad for her. And I do like how there was that one woman who I don't think we've ever met before when Christine had the panic attack that was like, okay, everybody. It was like the woman that stepped in and was like, someone needs to call 911. She needs help.
That was great, actually. She needed that one character because I felt like they were all just looking at her and judging her. And that's probably what made her lose it, is she has never had to be in that position with all those eyes. And these people she's clearly trying to please, up until this point. It seems like that's out the window.
And that scene with those 2 guys in the kitchenette area.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was awful, but she held her own. I was like, ooh, how's she going to handle this? Because that one guy was all cocky, like, yeah, well, I'd still hit it.
Yeah.
And the other guy was like, well, you'd hit anything. And they're trying to have this little quip. But, of course, the moment he tries to, touch her, the nicer guy, she's still like, don't touch me.
And she's recording it saying, I just want you to know I'm extremely uncomfortable right now. And she recorded all of that. And I think that the smarter guy was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
She might be recording this and might file a lawsuit because he seems smarter than the other guy.
Totally. And that would be a major sexual harassment claim if she's got all this footage, because everything about the court system is evidence, evidence, evidence. So if you have cold hard evidence with a recording, then, these people are in big trouble. And they're a law firm themselves, so, that would kind of tarnish their image.
Yeah, they know better than anybody.
Exactly. So they have a lot to lose. And... so Christine tries to act ahead as well and goes and tells Aaron, that David released the video and you need to believe me. So that was the part also that threw me off, as I was like, okay, so she thinks it's David or is she pretending to think it's David?
Okay, I first think that she's pretending to think it's David, but I still don't understand why she keeps on going to Aaron.
Yeah.
Because when did they ever have a real relationship?
Yeah.
It's all kind of been bullshit. So when but I think Aaron kind of knows the game she's playing and knows that she has something on her potentially.
I agree. I think Erin is pretty intelligent herself, and she's kind of playing into whatever Christine wants because she's fearful of her too. She sees this young intern is willing to do whatever it takes to step up the ladder, and she doesn't mind who she's going to take down in the process. If she's going down, then you're all going down, basically.
Here's the thing about Christine. She is so smart, but why? Why does she have to do all of these things? Because her outing these lawyers for doing it, I don't really think it's going to do anything for her.
It doesn't benefit her really in a huge way. I wasn't sure if she's going for a large settlement, possibly, because that would be really the only payoff for this type of incident. Because as far as working there in the future, not going to happen. You're not going to get an awesome reference for your future resume. Like, that's kind of done. You just want to kind of forget it after all these things have been exposed to everybody. So,
yeah, and Erin is just... And she's not saying, like, listen, you're being a little nutty, and that's not something you would say to someone that's having a breakdown. But still, she's always been there somehow agreeing with Christine. It's like they're speaking, like, Morse code to each other.
I agree. There's something going on there. And somebody who also thinks something's going on is Ben. He goes up to David while they're talking about what they're going to do about this intern and other business things. And Ben asks him straight out, did you have sex with her? And I think he defends himself by saying, she came after me, something along those lines. Like, you know, he tries to put the seed in others' minds that, oh, she's already tried to, you know, put some advances on me. So if she says something down the line, like, don't believe it.
Yeah. I agree, but I think that the fact that they even asked that to begin with, why would they ask that? Why didn't they ask anybody else? Why didn't they ask her nice boss?
Exactly. I think they know. I think everybody's kind of got a hunch that potentially something may have gone on between them two, especially because David kind of has this, you know, issue going on with his own marriage, but he still clearly wants to keep his wife happy. He's calling her and making sure she's okay. You know, that awkward phone call where he's like, you all right? And you can tell she's like, fine.
Yeah, she's like, will you please stop asking me that?
Yeah.
I just hate you, kind of. But if she would have known, I think the conversation would have gone a lot
Right, she would have popped off. So the end of the episode is basically they let her know in a nicer way that she, you know, she'll be fired likely and she should kind of ease her way out. And as she's looking at all of her employees, she starts to have this serious panic attack. And like you said, this one nice employee pretty much, you know, comes to her aid. And then is it Kaylee who escorts her to her house?
Yeah, and I love that she's like, do you need anything, want anything to eat? She's expecting her to say no. She's like, you sure you don't, you know, burger? Wait, burger actually sounds really good right now. Really? Okay, fine. Get her a burger.
Yeah.
And the way she eats it, too, after Kaylee leaves her apartment, it was like, her eyes changed again. And she was all like animalistic and like crazy kind of.
Yeah, she really interests me the way she goes so cold, because a normal person at the end of that would go home and just start bawling, you know, crying their eyes out. But her, she was like, meh, I'm out of there now. I'm like,
let me watch myself masturbate again to make me feel better.
yeah, and she goes right back into it. So obviously that's the beginning of episode 10 is when she's called a cab. She goes home, has a burger, watches a video of her masturbating. It's all in a day's work. And then she gets a call from her sister, of course, telling her that her mom had also seen the video. So that was another interesting hint that I'm like, okay, if her mom and her sister saw it, you know, either that's collateral damage or somebody went in, you know, trying to just take out everybody on the contact list and let her know who they're working with potentially.
I don't know why she would have done that to herself. So
yeah, the mom and the sister thing is where it made me think it is somebody else, and it could be Jack potentially, because that would really put her in a position to be shamed by her own family, because you don't really want your family to see that. That's like the hardest people, I feel like, to please already, and then if they see you in that light, it's like kind of hard to take back.
And it's almost funny, like her sister, you know, like, Mom is really upset. Why would you send that to us? It's like, well, how is that even a question? Why would you send that to us? How did this happen? Who did this?
Yeah.
It was very bizarre. And she just, you know, was like, sorry, I gotta go. Bye.
Yeah, that was that for her, and she didn't mind. And what did you think about the fact how she just gets right back to it? She starts up a Sores Amor account and goes by the name Amanda Reyes, I think, something along those lines, and quickly gets another client, Michael, who was very interesting.
Yeah, well, she's first of all saying that she is from Chicago now because she needs a whole new clientele.
Yeah, she needs a new switch up her story.
Which was very smart. And, you know, she ends up going to Toronto, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the guys that she ends up meeting, this one, were crazy.
I felt like her limits at this point are kind of like, whatever. Like, I just have to do what I have to do, especially now that I lost my other job. I'm not going to really worried about having the craziest standard. Like, she'll take a little bit less desirable clientele if needed to keep her nice apartment intact.
I guess, but I mean, you know, she's already racked up some good money.
Right.
And could maybe just, like, take a breather, but I think that she enjoys the whole, like, chase of it all and the scariness.
I couldn't agree more. And she's getting paid quite the pretty penny, basically $1,000 an hour, and she books at a minimum of 2 hours. So she's making $2,000 potentially even in a day if she's only working with one client.
Right. But, I mean, how many clients do you think she's doing? Yeah, it's true. Doing a week.
It's correctly said, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it depends if she... And I'm curious how many hours the other men booked her previously.
Right.
Like the one that died, Michael. He wanted to just buy her forever.
Exactly. And he would have kept her paycheck, I feel like, coming in steadily, and she would have probably been fine just staying with Michael and picking up a few clients here and there. But now she's going to have to pick up some extra shifts, unfortunately. And she lets us know in episode 10 that the timeline that we've been asking about. So she says, what, like 8 to 9 months or something along those lines, I think? So, okay, that lets us know she's been doing it for almost a year. So you're probably right. She probably has a nice, juicy savings account going at this point.
Yeah, I mean, well, New York is expensive and all of that, but she had to have, making a little bit of money at her intern clerk job. Not a lot, but still a little bit, not enough to live in that nice apartment.
Right.
But I think she's, making more than she needs to.
Yeah, and she does meet some other girls that are in her industry when she goes and meets up with the client at the end, Gary Barber. And he was an interesting man. He, of course, asks if she's okay with other women, and she goes there. And both of the other girls that were there seemed to both be call girls. Was I correct in seeing that?
Yep.
Okay. So it's interesting. And the girl answers the door, and she's like, oh, just to let you know, they love to party here. So she kind of lets her know what you're getting into and what they're like, doing a line in the opening scene there. And she's just kind of like, yeah. And the other girl has to kiss her. And so you can just tell she doesn't mind, though. Like, any new situation, I'm like, okay, this one's going to freak her out. Okay, this one's going to do it. And she's just like, game.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, she's hot. Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it. But with this one specifically, what I really liked was the other call girl that did not party. Mm-hmm. She said, I don't party. And, Christine and her had an interesting conversation.
Exactly. And she mentioned how she's been doing it for 6 years and she wants to stop and have kids. And that was kind of the most real conversation you've heard from somebody in that industry, because everybody seems so focused on making their paper. They're not really focused about hitting other, milestones in their life.
Yeah. But I wish we could have seen a more reactionary version of Christine after that. Kids, really? What?
Yeah. I know. I kind of wanted her to say, oh, me too, or kind of give a little thought to it herself, because I felt like, okay, maybe that's a deep down desire of hers that she just hasn't tapped yet, having not met the right guy.
Right.
But, some other stuff is going off while she's, out here vacationing, in essence, and meeting with these other clients. She finds out that the Chicago Lister ran a news story with her video, which I'm like, oh boy, now it has all hit the fan. Everybody knows. Good luck, because now it's your face out there. The guy is still a mystery, and that is rough.
But I just feel like those kind of things, it sucks. And even if it was I think that what she should end up doing, is like what I said earlier, that this was her boyfriend. It was a revenge thing, because there's so many revenge porns that have come out, like revenge sex tapes, and those are revenge nudes, that
right, revenge porn, yeah.
Yeah, and that is a huge deal now, and people are aware of it. So I think that she is gonna maybe be okay and become a victim again and have everyone feel sorry for her.
I feel like, yeah, she is going to be a victim, and then she'll rise to the top. She's very good at even if she is dealt the victim card, she'll find a way to play it right. She seems like she's ahead of the game in that regard.
Can we talk about the guy though that's her lawyer? Because I mean, he's really nice to her.
I know, a little too nice. He actually respects her, though. I feel like he tries to give her good advice, which is nice.
He's trying to help her, but he was a client.
Yeah.
And it does not seem to bother him at all, knowing about all this other stuff, but he's the one that wants to get, I don't know if it's because he's been involved now, and so it's his name on the line too, so he wants to make sure he clears this up for her, but he wants to help her.
Clearly. And she should take it. She needs all the help she can get, especially if she's going after this will and going to wait for it. It's she needs to definitely play all her cards right. And maybe being in this state, she'll have some sort of protection, because I know different states have different protection for those type of revenge porn scenarios. So she might be one of the lucky bunch, or she may just have to face the music, as they say.
I don't know.
So we'll see. So Amy Seimetz, who plays Christine's big sister in the series, she's also the writer and director in the indie film world, and she shares writing and directing duties on The Girlfriend Experience, recently explained, and I thought this was an excellent quote, "This show is not an expose on why she does it, the call girl world per se, but it's creating a character that embodies why we're so fascinated with women who do." which I'm like, okay, bingo. That is the perfect way to sell the show because it's not really something you can always identify with, but you do want to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. And Amy Seimetz, she's very fascinating. After the shows on Stars, like when I watch them on demand, she usually gives a short interview afterwards. Amy does about the episode, and it's really cool to watch, like an insider, like 2 to 3 minute look about that episode. And I think she's an extremely talented writer director. It's really cool. She's put herself in it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, at one point, like, Christine used her Annabelle, that's her name on the show, and she, like, used her sister's name. So, yeah, I just think she's a very cool woman, and I think she's done an amazing job.
Oh, very, very true. So, continuing forth, let's get into a little news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, guys, I was actually supposed to go to this really awesome event last weekend for the Humane Society, but I broke my foot, so couldn't stand on the carpet. However, Riley was there, and she enjoyed her Mother's Day weekend doing good. A huge thank you to the Humane Society, and for all of the outstanding work that you have done and are doing for farm animals and all the animals of the world. Thank you for the wonderful evening, and Priscilla Presley, who is her mother, and she tagged her on Twitter, and it was very sweet. I am dying that I couldn't have been there. She also paid homage to her beautiful mom for the holiday, writing Happy Mother's Day. Words cannot describe how I feel about mine.
Aww.
And they're both very beautiful, talented women. They look alike.
They do. Those sultry looks, I swear, they run in that family.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Really. So, sorry, Riley, I couldn't have been there to meet you. I know you must have missed me terribly.
She so did.
I know she did. Oh, God. Just so you know, guys, let's see if they can do this. Well,
Hello.
You can kind of see. I have a cast, so it's that's why it was hard for me to get there. But it was such a cool event. There was a lot of celebrities there, including Riley and Priscilla. So good for them. I hope they had a great time.
Yes, it was so great. I saw the picture she shared with the Mother's Day photo, and basically it was an old-fashioned vintage pic of Priscilla Presley, who is gorgeous, and they look so much alike. You can see she's almost like the spitting image of her mom. So I thought that was great, especially over the Mother's Day weekend, helping out the animals and saying hello to Mom, giving her a shout out. So before we wrap up today, let's get into some quick predictions about what we think for the final 3 episodes here. They're coming up ASAP.
Wow.
Predictions.
So I think that Christina's going to get away with it all. And she's going to tear some people down, including David. I don't think David is going to...
He's not safe.
He is not going to keep his job. He is not going to keep his wife. Like, he is just going to be big collateral damage. I don't understand why she really targeted him, but I do think that she targeted him to begin with.
Right.
And so he's going down. And I think that Jack also is the one responsible for the leak. And I think that he might have a worse fate than David, to be quite honest, as he should.
Ooh, Sam, I feel like you hit it on the head there. I'm like, I don't know if I can get any better than that. Pretty much, I think the same. I think Christine's going to come out on top. I could see even Erin turning her back on David if needed. If he's going down, she's like, bye, buddy. You shouldn't have slept with the intern. I told you about that.
There's going to be some girl power thing going on between those two.
I'm feeling that. And then I'm hoping that Kaylee can keep her job after all this, which I think she will. I think she'll be safe given her nice attitude and helping out in this situation. And I'm interested to see if Christine's mom and sister will come back in the picture, but I do think David's going down, or Jack is, and I'm hoping to see a little bit more of both and kind of see where their fates lead.
Me too. So good. I love this show.
It is so great. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. You can catch us the same place, same time next week. And real quick, where can they find you on social media once again?
You guys can find me online, SamDavidsonEntertainment.com, Snapchat, SamDavidson25, and Twitter and Instagram at SamD43.
And once again, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz, BENITZ. So also be sure to download us on AfterBuzzTV.com. Subscribe to us there as well. Check us out on YouTube and anywhere else. Pretty much leave us a 5-star rating, thumbs up. We'd love to hear back from you guys. And feel free to catch us in the live chat next week. And we'll be running over the next few episodes, so stay tuned.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.